Good morning, everybody. How are you guys? How's things going last couple weeks? Last week or so? A lot of stuff going on in the news with the president and a lot of terror attack in Orlando. Not Orlando. Was it Ontario in Canada? You can tell I really pay attention. Part of the problem is I have short-term memory problems, so like I'll see something and I can't remember exactly where it was. It's just kind of hit and miss. Anyway, as you may have seen in uh, past vlogs, it's still a little early for me anyway. Past vlogs, I've been working on this area, this office mess area, to try to sort things out. I moved some furniture around, got rid of some stuff. It's still pretty messy. Still a lot of stuff on the ground, and I'm trying to wrap my head out. I'm trying to wrap my head around on a plan how to downsize some of this stuff, magazines and some videos and home videos, all this stuff. I'm not going to get rid of any of this video stuff, but trying to figure out like the best possible solutions. Anyway, going through this, got rid of some furniture so I could actually get to some of these areas where there's stuff in here. And one of the things I sort of uncovered is this old AV video magazine, which was basically an industry, I don't know if it's still around, an industry magazine where it talks about things that are going on technically. I'm trying to think of how to say that. See, there's articles about like cameras and stuff, or advertisements about cameras and stuff in there, and it was like one of those magazines, you know. And then they were just starting to do digital editing, how to edit MPEG like a pro for $4,000. Stuff was very expensive back then. This was 1995. If you want to look this up somewhere. Focus. Why isn't it focusing? Too close? Focus on that. You see it? Anyway, 1995, September, Volume 9, Volume 17. I used to get it for free for some reason. It was like, I don't know, I don't know how I got that magazine. But it was, some articles were interesting. I didn't really read it that much. It was one of those subscriptions that I would sort of look through if there was anything interesting, but it just talked about equipment and stuff. It was back in the old days. There was a lot of equipment involved in television, you know, from tape machines and the cameras and the cables and microphones, and it's sort of been simplified with digital because you don't have any more tape machines, really. As far as I know, nobody has any more tape machines. I still have VHS tapes, which I have to transfer to digital, but as far as editing, you know, pretty much editing software comes on your computer now. If you have like a Windows computer, a lot of times you get Movie Maker, or if you're on Apple, you get some kind of... Anyway, oh, the other thing I wanted to show you was that magazine. I actually wrote one of those viewer tips, and it got published in that magazine. That's maybe how I got to show you this thing. Is an award for the Florida Association of Press Broadcasters. The AP is the Associated Press Award for Spot News for the station I worked at, WWSB, which I think it's still that station. Back in the old days, what year this? Oh, 1999. I dug that out of the bookshelf because it's been sitting down there, and it actually had some goopy stuff on here. So it was sitting next to something that rubbed off on here, and there was a bunch of black stuff on there, and I finally sort of cleaned it up. You can still see a little bit of goopy stuff on here. Some black vinyl stuff that, like, it was sitting next to it and then it stuck to it, so I had to scrape it all off. That Spot News Award was because of a situation where the police were chasing two young guys. I think it might have been a boy and a girl that had been suspected of murder up north, and they were chasing them, and they ended up firing shots at the helicopter that was chasing them. And they were chased through the Siesta Key neighborhood, and they ended up hiding somewhere, and it was right by a school, so they had to shut down the school. And this is pre 9/11, so you know things were a bit different if you were alive back then. and we were going somewhere, driving or something, and they called us on the cell phone and told us to get over to Siesta Key because there's some kind of shut down. There's been shots fired, and they used to pick it up on they had a radio, scanner radio, and they'd pick up the police band and stuff. And we ended up doing a couple live shots during the middle of the day, maybe at noon. I can't remember exactly the exact details, but they shot at the helicopter, and then they were running. There was a bunch of canals there, and they were running across a bunch of canals and hiding in people's backyards. And they finally caught them, and I think they got sent back up north to stand charges on murdering one of the kids' parents or something like that. Really weird. So anyway, that coverage we sent in for an AP award, and they awarded us. So it wasn't actually something specifically just for me, but it was for our station. And I'd have to say there was probably about 5 or 6 people responsible. I think there was like 2 reporters and 2 camera guys that were covering it. I was doing a live shot from like one of the streets and basically the whole Siesta Key was shut down at one point. You couldn't get past, so we ended up having to drive around all this traffic and stuff and try to get where we weren't supposed to be. And they blocked off a whole bunch of streets that were near where it was. It was crazy in those days because it was so hard to get. There was no Twitter and no nothing, and the internet. You couldn't get updated with no Twitter and no Instagram and all that stuff. You couldn't get real up-to-date news, so you'd have to call the police department and ask them what was going on, and they only give you certain information. And the SWAT team was out there, so we got that award along with 5 or 6 other people. It's basically a broad award saying that all the people involved won it, but kind of cool to dig that out. I haven't had that on the wall for quite a while now, so I think it's the only award I won. I never won anything for like best story or anything because I guess I really wasn't into awards at that time, but just interesting kind of dig through the old days, stuff like that. I have some awards. I have awards for perfect attendance in school, and I have some trophies too. I'll just show you real quick some old trophies just for the heck of it. Some old trophies in this little case here. This is like a bicycle trophy and a tennis trophy, and I think that's another tennis trophy for some tournament that I was in. But anyway, I did want to talk about some other subject today. So let's go downtown, and we'll talk about a different subject downtown.